Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Donington Park for your next instalment of Ginetta Racing action. We've got 3 more races to bring you here today from the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, and the first of those 3 will be the third and final race of the weekend in the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. They've been on top form this weekend, it has to be said, after a season that started with Freddie Slater dominance at Alton Park and a few whispers up and down the paddock of how this was going to be a slightly one-sided Ginetta Junior Championship campaign. Well, thankfully, the people who said that have been proven wrong, because while Freddie Slater continues to win with astonishing regularity, the racing has certainly tightened up. The competition at the front of the field now is tougher than ever, and we are thoroughly enjoying the entertainment they've been providing so far this weekend here at Donington Park. We've had 2 races, one won yesterday by Hugo Schwarzer, although Freddie Slater did win on the road, only to be handed a track limits penalty. He then went and held on to the race victory in the end by 2.3 seconds earlier on this morning over Luca Hopkinson and Charlie Hart. That didn't really do the race full justice. It was one of those proper Ginetta Junior affairs. Slipstreaming, side-by-side racing, overtaking, little bit of paint traded, and a couple of drivers who perhaps came away from it not all that happy, but we as neutrals certainly enjoyed ourselves. It's Andy McEwen back in the commentary box to talk you through the afternoon's action, once again joined here by Kai Bachin, whose name I definitely did not just forget. Kai, welcome back again for the afternoon's action. It has been a spectacular weekend of racing so far. The Ginettas, not only the juniors, all of the categories really, as I said, in top form. But I've got high hopes for this final Ginetta Junior race of the weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing race. I mean, the first 2 have been action-packed. The third is going to be short of absolutely nothing. I can tell you what, all of these drivers, it's their final race today. They're going to give it absolutely everything they've got. They don't need to conserve the car for any more races today, so a bit more time if we do get a bit of damages on the cars, so the drivers don't need to worry about that so much. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one. You
say that as if they've been conserving the cars in the earlier 2 races.
That's a good point.
I beg to differ. They have been absolutely just so aggressive, but entertainingly so. I mean, not dirty driving, but just really giving it everything. 100% on the attack has been the mentality for our juniors this weekend, and yeah, hoping for more of the same in this one. They actually do kind of have to think about keeping the cars in one piece, though, because they've got only a week, or less than a week, until they rock up at Silverstone for the Ginetta Fest. They've got 6 races coming next weekend across 2 different layouts of the Silverstone circuit. So they'll be arriving on Thursday for pre-event testing, which doesn't give the teams a huge amount of time to prepare the cars. I don't think the drivers are really thinking about that right now, but the teams certainly are, that is for sure. So green flag lap then underway ahead of our final junior action of the weekend. It's another 20-minute race, and it's Freddie Slater who once again starts from the pole position this grid based upon the race 2 result. So Freddie Slater on pole, Luca Hopkinson, his R Racing teammate, will line up alongside him, then Charlie Hart for Elite Motorsport, and another one of the R Racing brigade, Mikey Porter. And it's another R Racing car, Reza Sarurathan starting 5th. Mackenzie Douglas for Fox Motorsport will line up on the outside of row 3 ahead of Alicia Palmowski and Henry Jocelyn, who has been Mr. Excitement in the Ginetta Juniors this weekend. Chase Fernandez in the number 90 car starts 9th on the grid for Assetto Racing. Hugo Schwarzer disappointed after a spin down at the Melbourne hairpin earlier on. He'll have to move forward from 10th. Harry Moss and Tom Spragg then share the 6th row of the grid. Row 7 is where you find Felix Livesey and Holly Mile. And they're getting towards the back end of the field now. The last 2 finishers from race 2 were Adu Robinson and Freddie Allen, so therefore they share the 8th row, and row 9 for Leo Robinson and Bria Anglis. However, we know that Leo Robinson and Finn Harrison were involved in a nasty shunt in the previous race. Both of them were okay. Finn Harrison, it would appear, is a confirmed non-starter. Is Leo Robinson at the back of the grid, though? They were working on that car between races, were the team, and I hope that they've got the number 37 car out. If they have, then Leo will be at the back of the grid, and we might get a little look at it now. Do we have a number 37? Well, yes. Remarkably, Kai, we do. That is top work by R Racing to get that car back out there.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest surprise to me there. Leo Robinson seemed to be the car that walked away with the most damage from that impact. It definitely had that car splitting into, I'd say, a few pieces as it came off that barrier. But Leo Robinson, an amazing job from the R Racing team once again to get that car underway and to get this car back on the track. And it's a great news for Leo Robinson, who's been on great form recently, obviously coming off the back of a victory, a maiden victory out in Silverstone last time round. Hasn't had the best of weekends so far, but there's still one more race to turn that around.
Freddie Slater further extending his championship lead now with 6 race wins, would you believe, out of the 8 races that we've had so far. Hugo Schwarzer, of course, won yesterday. We also had a win for Leo Robinson, actually, back at Silverstone in the 3rd and final race, this equivalent race at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit last time out. But Freddie Slater is now getting on for 60 points clear. Once drop scores are taken into account, that will start to change, but a little early in the season maybe to be thinking too much about that. Meanwhile, in the Teams Championship, our racing and Elite Motorsport, well, it's now our racing taking a more decisive lead, but with one more race still to go, that could yet change. Red lights are on. Rev starting to rise then on the start line, and it's pole position for Freddie Slater on the left-hand side of the road. His teammate Luca Hopkinson, though, will try to beat him into Redgate Corner and might have a chance of doing so. That's a good start made there from the number 48 car on the outside line, but we've seen from Alicia Parmovsky in the previous 2 races, it's very difficult to go the long way round at Redgate on the opening lap, and again, it's not quite going to work for Luca, is it? So it will be Freddie Slater who retains the advantage then. Hopkinson trying to hang tough around the outside. Charlie Hart drawing level with him as they drop down through Hollywood and into the Crater Curves, all cleanly through Redgate Corner. But as we've seen in the previous races, Kai, Hopkinson outside line at Redgate drops to 4th, 5th, maybe 6th by the old hairpin.
Yeah, the old hairpin, also a great opportunity on this first lap to gain a position or 2 if you're diving down the inside. We're going on board here with the number 19 as we're going down the hill. Mikey Porter, it's been a good weekend for him so far, and qualifying and the last 2 races have shown to do so. He's looking to close it out with a good race as well, as the 24 and the 33 are making their way down the inside. That's Douglas nearly running a little bit too wide as the drivers go 2, 3 wide in the background there. One driver getting squeezed all the way off to the inside. That looks like that's Fernandez and Schwartz going at it. Douglas dropping a little bit further back as drivers are just swarming him on the start of this race.
Down the exhibition straight then, it is Slater who leads, Charlie Hart 2nd, and in 3rd is Reza Sarurathan. Welcome to the races, Reza. We really haven't seen much of him this weekend. He's been languishing down the order, but a great start from the 78 car there from 5th on the grid to 3rd means that this is realistically his best opportunity so far to get a race win this weekend. Actually hasn't won a race yet all year. He's challenging Hart now for 2nd, dropping into the Melbourne hairpin, and this bottleneck could allow Freddie Slater to make a break at the head of the field. Schwarzer there going 3 wide briefly with Jocelyn and Fernandez, and there's contact further back, and oh no, what a shame. That is the 37 car of Leo Robinson involved again. The 47 running out wide too is Harry Moss, but Leo Robinson's hastily repaired car may now have more damage.
Yeah, it looked like just a little bit of debris off the front of the cars will have been left off there. Freddie Slater leaving the rest of the field by an absolute stormer of a first lap right there. 1.6 seconds is the gap he's already managed to establish. Charlie Hart and Reza Sarurathan trying to follow in suit in 3rd and 4th. As you can see, a battle further down the field. That looks like that's Hopkinson trying to hold off Schwarzer. Hopkinson is sent out wide. Nothing he could do about that one. You could see just running a little bit too far out wide, carrying too much speed, was never going to work out, and dips a wheel on the gravel, was just pulls him in.
And with that moment now, Luca Hopkinson, who started 2nd, is down to 10th after just over 1 lap of racing. Disastrous start for the number 48 car. Here's a replay of what happened down at the hairpin. Ignore the lead group. It's that 2nd group of cars who come together. And, well, it looked as though that was Robinson getting tagged sideways and everyone else sort of just piling in. So it really does look as though Leo was the innocent party there. Everybody continued there. They all completed that opening lap of the race, although some of them slightly worse for wear. Leaders back down the exhibition straight, well, the leader down the exhibition straight. Freddie Slater checking out, Kai.
Yeah, he's doing what he does best right now, just focusing on the road ahead of him and focusing on himself, what he can do best in the car right now. In behind, though, we see going a little bit too defensive there. Was the number 78 going defensive there? Sorry, that may have been in the background trying to fend off from one of the drivers, going absolutely flying over the S's, and somebody dropping a wheel on the exit there. And yeah, going defensive right now. Sarurathan has Parmovsky all over the back of him as he nearly runs into the back of the number 19 of Mikey Porter right there during the hairpin. That could have been a very bad incident there, maybe tagged round, and the rest of the field involved just about unscathed from that one as they go down into Goddard's through the final corner now. Nobody thinking about an overtake just yet. A couple of drivers still kicking up smoke during the braking zone as they just lock those front tyres.
Back across the line they will come then. 2 laps in the book. Freddie Slater 2 seconds up the road. The battle is on for second though. Mikey Porter close enough maybe to have a go at Charlie Hart. Decides not to into the braking zone though. So second and third stays the same. Then a small gap back to Reza Samurathan in fourth. And Alicia Parmovsky fifth. Parmovsky's race 2 went more or less along the lines that Luca Hopkinson's race 3 is going. Started near the front, dropped down in the early stages. She was never really able to recover. Let's see what Hopkinson can do. He's 9th at the moment. There's a big look at the inside from Mikey Porter there. Hart got a bit out of shape down through the crane of curves. It nearly opened the door at the old hairpin, but Charlie Hart stays ahead for now. And again, Kai, I'm going to reuse my line that I seem to use in every Ginetta Junior race. If these two worked together, I think combined they've got the pace to chase after Freddie Slater, but that ain't happening.
No, 100% I can't see that happen at all, even though I did see Charlie Hart pointing forwards to try and get Porter to work together with him. Now, if Porter actually complies with that and works together with Hart, that's a different question, as these drivers are absolutely scrapping it out in the mid-pack there. As we saw, that was Fernandez, Schwartz and Douglas all going at it. Parmovsky still trying to make her way past Sia Wurfin, and she's managed to do so with a great exit down the back straight. They now head into the S's and nearly losing it through the first part there. Sia Wurfin just about keeps it in order, but he won't get the best of exits. Parmovsky still feels the need to defend, though.
Yes, she does. This for fourth position then down the hill. Hugo Schwarzer catching them as well, so his race is improving a little bit as we get into the middle part of it. Henry Jocelyn there on the outside line with Adu Robinson trying to get up the inside. We have lost to the pit lane, by the way. Freddie Allen, unsure why, but he came into the pit lane at the end of lap number 2. Everybody else still circulating, though, and getting increasingly bunched together in this midfield pack. Jocelyn there peeking to the inside of Douglas, and out wide goes Samurathan on the exit of Goddard's corner. That leaves him immediately vulnerable to attack from Hugo Schwarzer, who is shown the outside line but has such a run, such extra momentum that he's cleared the R Racing car long before they get to Redgate Corner.
Just to note, Charlie Hart has been awarded a black and white warning flag there by the stewards, so something that they're not happy with, which is most likely going to be track limits. I'm guessing with these junior drivers, we see quite often them picking up 5-second penalties and warnings for track limits as well. Charlie Hart, it would be unfortunate if he did though, since he is in second position right now. As we have a look at him right now, the number 50 still very closely followed by Mikey Porter. Mikey Porter not letting Hart run away with this one at all. But Freddie Slater, 2.5 seconds, he doesn't need to worry about anyone.
No, because he was quicker by 4/10 on the previous lap than these two, so even if they are working together, they're not actually gaining, although on this lap they are. So a 10th quicker or so in the first sector was Hart than Slater. The middle sector ends towards the end of this next straight, so let's see if Porter decides to stay in the slipstream and give him a bump. Looks as though he will, so there is the bump draft there. He is working with him, so we know that these two are going to, at least for a bit, work together to try and chase after the race leader, and that is excellent news for Charlie Hart. It means he knows now that he doesn't have to defend into every braking zone, and that peace of mind means that he can relax, doesn't have to watch the mirrors too much. Mackenzie Douglas is off the road. Now, where is that? That looks like McLean's, perhaps. He's a long way off the track as well. And this, well, will it require a safety car? Let's see.
Well, that car looks very deep in that gravel trap there. He somehow looks, oh, that's also a missing part of the car.
And
that looks like a wheel cover.
Yeah, I think, or a rear bumper perhaps, but either way, that's probably more likely to trigger a safety car, arguably, than the car in the gravel, because marshals would have to go on the track to recover that.
Yeah, it's going to be a situation I'm sure that will be figured out very quickly, but with still 12 minutes left in the race, there's still a while for these drivers to keep battling for position. If there is a safety car, though, that 2.5 second gap that Slate has managed to pull will completely diminish, and Hart will be all over the back of him. And I can tell you what, if Charlie Hart gets a sniff at the win, he won't let that one go.
Not for the first time, I'm being proven wrong, because even though they're working together, Charlie Hart and Mikey Porter are not lapping as quickly as the race leader. They were a 10th slower, in fact, on the previous lap, whilst Chase Fernandez in 6th place set the new fastest lap, a 1:54.337. This is the first weekend ever that the Ginetta Junior Championship has raced on the full Grand Prix layout at Donington Park, so whichever the fastest race lap of the weekend has been so far would inevitably become the lap record, and that looks to be a 53.8 set by Freddie Slater in the previous race. Not quite down to that pace at the moment. Up towards Coppice Corner we go, riding on board with Mikey Porter in 3rd position. down a gear into the right-hander, over the crest. The Cargo's light wanders towards the edge of the road, and now he picks up that slipstream down the exhibition straight in the first sector. Again, they were fractionally quicker than Freddie Slater in sector 2. Freddie Slater, again, 2/10 slower than them. So this time, Kai, they're starting to make inroads into the leader.
Yep, you can see as they make their way through the S's right now, these two drivers very tightly tucked together. No intent of making an overtake just yet from Mikey Porter. He's going to sit in behind Charlie Hart and try and work together with him to catch on to Freddie Slater. A little bit of a lock-up there from Charlie Hart as he went down into the Melbourne hairpin. And going wide there is Pomorski. That now opens the floodgates. As going down the inside, that looks like that's Schwartz making an overtake. As the number 33 manages to follow through, you can see Fernandez tucked in behind Pomorski. Pomorski's going to have the inside going down into Goddard. She'll get the move. And following through will Fernandez as well. On the switchback, Schwartz is going to fight it.
Yeah, going to try and get that side draft almost. Well, that was a bit too close for a side draft. That was actual contact down the straight, but that perhaps deterred Schwarzer from committing to the move. Ducks back in behind again. Into the braking zone they will go. So Palmovski 4th, Fernandez 5th, and Hugo Schwarzer down into 6th position. The lead gap in the end went out by another 1/10.5 that time around. So it does look as though Freddie Slater has this one covered. Freddie became only the 2nd driver in history to win the first 5 races of a Ginetta Junior campaign. The first driver since Harry Woodhead back in 2013, and Harry went on to win the championship that year. So Freddie Slater really looking strong in 2023, and perhaps another race victory could be coming his way here this afternoon. This, though, the battle going on behind. 4th, 5th and 6th places, nose to tail as they head towards McLean's, with Schwarzer keen to get these places back.
Yeah, Schwarzer fighting as hard as possible right now. Obviously, with the heartbreak that he had in earlier races, he wants to gain back as many points as possible, as he's still swarming the back of Fernandez right now as they make their way through the infield. Now down the back straight, you can see going down, having to go defensive there is Palmovski, the number 21, and Charlie Hart backed on the outside. Sorry, that looked defensive going to an inside corner, but no, through the S as we go. Porter taking a little bit of track limits there, so a little bit naughty there from the number 19 in 3rd position right now, but he's still tucked in behind the 50 of Charlie Hart with no intent of making an overtake. But in behind, though, these 3 drivers definitely trying to get that overtake done.
Looked as though Charlie perhaps clipped the tyre stack there, going through the left-hand element of the chicane. There's a bit of a rubber mark look on the left front corner. Thankfully not enough to do any steering damage, it seems. They stay in the same order through Goddard's. Behind there was the potential for a bit of shuffling to go on, but I think they have stayed where they were. Out onto the Wheatcroft straight they head again. Past the pits, the lead gap creeps out to 3 seconds, and is this the point now then, with 8 minutes and 20 seconds to go, that Mikey Porter gives up on his temporary truce with Charlie Hart and just tries to claim 2nd place, because they're 3 seconds clear of Palmovski, Fernandez and Schwarzer behind. Porter, at what point, Kai, do you think he's really going to start going on the attack again?
It'll be probably down to the point when they realise that they can't catch Slater, which should be around the point now, because 3 seconds is a lot of time to gain within 8 minutes, especially if they're not catching by such a large margin per lap. It will be soon enough that Mikey Porter realises, oh, and 2 drivers going off there. That's Pomorski and Fernandez after battling together all this race. I highly doubt that either of them are going to get out of that gravel trap there.
Oh dear, so Alicia Palmovski and Chase Fernandez out of the race, and with 2 cars stuck down there. You know what I'm going to say next, don't you? There is the potential for a safety car. 1 car can be recovered with the live snatch pretty quickly. 2 might take a little bit longer. It's the last thing that Freddie Slater wants to hear, because he is going to, if we do get a safety car, lose that 3-second cushion that he enjoys right now. There is an exclamation mark against Chase Fernandez's name on the timing screen. I guess it matters little now, but I suspect he was about to be given a 5-second track limits penalty, but he is off the road anyway down at the old hairpin. Out of the chicane they come, Slater continuing to lead, and actually at the point of the race at which we thought Porter would go on the attack, Hart seems a bit more comfortable in 2nd place.
Yeah, Hart trying to pull a little bit of breathing room now, just a little bit of a cushion that he can get to the driver behind. It's always going to be useful going forwards in the race. Mikey Porter, though, just sitting in behind right now, not thinking about going for the overtake. He'll try and bring down that gap as much as possible as he can before going on the offense. You can see a little bit of a lock-up there from Charlie Hart as he goes a tiny bit deep going down into Goddard's. A good exit there from Mikey Porter. Does mean that he's able to bring back a little bit of time, though.
Charlie Hart, 2nd place, has been given a 5-second track limits time penalty. That's the second time this weekend he's fallen foul of that. Here, the replay, and, well, Fernandez up the inside at the old hairpin. There wasn't really enough room for the two of them. Both he and Parmovsky end up off the road. And there, a second view of some synchronised Ginetta spinning down into the gravel at the bottom of the hill. It's a popular place to have an accident, the old hairpin, because it's one of those corners that tempts you into thinking you can make an overtake. But in these junior cars, Kai, you're really not scrubbing off much speed into that turn. And that makes it very difficult to go wheel to wheel.
No, exactly, especially when it's one of those places where you wouldn't expect an overtake to take place as well. So maybe that went in the hand with Parmovsky. She wasn't expecting Fernandez to go diving in as hard as he would. So she tried to turn into the corner, take a little bit more of a racing line as you normally would. And obviously two cars don't go into one right there. We're looking a little bit further back in the pack right now. We're looking at Schwarzer and Hopkinson both going at it as they go up the hill now. Schwarzer just about staying in front in fourth position right now, or is he realistically in third if we have a look at the gap to Charlie Hart? No, he's a little bit far back, so he won't capitalise on the gap and on the penalty that Charlie Hart has right now. So maybe a little bit more time gained, and he's looking to promote himself into third.
Well, Schwarzer, I reckon, is 4.9 seconds behind Hart, or was at the start of the lap. So it's going to be touch and go, isn't it, as to whether Charlie stays on the podium at this rate. And he's really going to be hoping that Mikey Porter doesn't now start to put the pressure on, because if Charlie starts to defend, they'll lose time and likely fall within that margin.
Yeah, it looks like there's actually now a 5.2 second gap. A 5.4 second gap between Charlie Hart and Schwarzer. So quite a big margin between those two drivers, meaning that that is over the range of the 5-second penalty, meaning Charlie Hart is looking secure to stay on that third step of the podium if he stays in the position he is right now, and if he keeps up the pace and the momentum that he has going with him. We're looking in behind right now. Schwarzer and Hopkinson did look a little bit closer on that previous lap, so Hopkinson losing a little bit of time to Schwarzer on that previous tour of the circuit. Not a lot of battling going on right now in the Ginetta Junior Championship, as drivers are managing to space out a little bit and get themselves more breathing room. Talking about breathing room, it doesn't get any more than Freddie Slater. Yeah, 3.2 seconds now, the margin at the start of the lap. There's that first sector where he's consistently slower than the two cars behind by a tenth or so, and it doesn't really seem to matter because the last part of the lap through the Melbourne Loop, he is particularly rapid. Seems to get all of that time back and maybe just a little bit more. There goes the battle on track, at least, for second place. Hugo Schwarzer trying his best now to break away from Luca Hopkinson, which he's succeeding in doing so for now. And, well, if he's aware of this time penalty for Charlie Hart, he'll be keeping one eye to that gap as well. Can he get within the 5 seconds again of the second place man? He's certainly getting away from Hopkinson. Reza Saburathan, after a strangely under the radar weekend, I say, as he goes off at Coppice, is fading away. He's fading away even further now after that latest grassy moment. There's something about Reza Saburathan, who was, it looked a race winner from the word go at Alton Park at the start of the season, but something about Reza and Donington Park this weekend, Kai, just haven't gelled. No, it hasn't been the best weekend that Saburathan would have been hoping for coming into it. He has shown that he has the pace-up moments. He's shown glimpse of hope and glimpse of good racecraft, but it really just hasn't all came together. You need to have all hand-in-hand working together and also have good luck of not going off the circuit. Charlie Hart always hot under the brakes there going into the Goddards, as we see him lock up and a little bit of smoke be puffed from those front tyres every single time he goes into the corner. Surely that's got to be hurting him.
To Redgate they will go, but if Mikey is sensible here, I don't think he'll attack Charlie too hard because he knows he's got this second place in the bag anyway. He is one of the very few drivers not being warned about track limits at the moment. 78 Reza Saburathan is, so is 33 Hugo Schwartz, so number 48 Luca Hopkinson, and so number 16 Tom Sprang. Warnings for now, but one more track limits indiscretion, and that will become 5 seconds added to their time. Down through the old hairpin then for the penultimate time of asking comes this second place battle. Looks as though they're leaving the Chase Fernandez car where it is in the gravel, covering it under yellow flags, takes away a potential overtaking opportunity. And perhaps Mikey Porter just playing it a bit safer through there than Charlie Hart. Hart gaps him fractionally as they head up the hill. And they turn through the right-hander at McLean's corner, inch perfect over the curb for the R-Racing driver. At the moment, R-Racing have 3 cars, I think I'm right in saying, in the top 5. Yes, they do. Slater first, Porter third, Hopkinson fifth. Elite have 2, Hart second, although that will become third, and Schwarzer in fourth. So R-Racing likely to extend their team's championship lead, but they'll have plenty of time over the rest of the season try and do something about that. Our racing, though, looking really, really strong around here at Donington Park, and it looks as though a 1-2 finish is on the cards for them.
Yep, and as Slater now makes his way down towards the Melbourne hairpin, 1 minute and 10 seconds is now what's remaining on the clock, which does mean that we will be going on to the final tour and the final lap of this circuit. Freddie Slater, what a weekend it's been for him, only missing out on 1 win so far, and it's looking like he's going to walk away with 2, unless he makes a mistake, unless he goes off the track on this final lap. It can always happen. I'm sure we've seen it happen before, but Freddie Slater will definitely be bidding against it.
Yeah, in his mind, if he can bring this one home, he'll have won all 3 races on the road. That penalty robbing him of the victory yesterday, but he has proven without a doubt that he's capable of winning every race this season. It's been really just a bit of misfortune that's kept him away from the top step on a couple of occasions. There is one of his teammates, Luca Hopkinson, sat in 5th position, 1 second behind Hugo Schwarzer, but not gaining really on that particular lap. They were both almost identical in lap times, and he's going to have to really push hard now on the final lap to have a chance at catching. There goes the 47 car. That is Harry Moss with a rotation, or recovering from a rotation anyway, at the Goddard's hairpin. And Harry, did he lose a spot? No, stays in 12th place, but drops 13 or so seconds behind Leo Robinson. Half a lap to go then, up towards McLean's and Mikey Porter. Well, I'm not convinced he's that desperate to attack Charlie Hart anyway because of the penalty coming the way of the number 50 car, but I'm not convinced he's close enough to anyway.
No, not at all. Charlie Hart has done a great job there, put on the burners when he needed to, and pulled the extension that he needed to as well to get himself a little bit more of his safe position and more breathing room for the final lap of this race. Nothing that the top 3 need to worry about. The only driver that needs to worry about anything is Charlie Hart. But is Schwarzer more than 5 seconds away? Now, on our timing screen, it says 4.6. So we're going to have to wait for Charlie Hart to cross the line. We're going to have to wait for Hugo Schwarzer to pass the line as well. And then we'll have confirmation on who finishes in 3rd position.
There is a 5-second penalty for Reza Sarurathan for, well, you can fill in the gap yourself. Up into the final corner goes Freddie Slater, though. 3.6 seconds his leading margin at the moment. And he's got 1 more corner to negotiate to claim a 2nd race victory of the weekend then for the championship leader. A 7th win from 9 races this season. Remarkable hit rate for Freddie Slater, who claims the checkered flag again here at Donington Park. 2nd goes to Hart on the road. Of course, Mikey Porter moves ahead of him because of his 5-second penalty. And so does Hugo Schwarzer by 7/10 in the end. Really impressive final lap that from Hugo, within a 10th or so of his previous best, and he will move into the podium places. Charlie Hart, disappointed I'm sure with 4th. He's had podium pace all weekend and just hasn't quite been able to deliver the results. Luca Hopkinson 5th, Henry Jocelyn stays out of trouble this time in 6th, with Tom Sprague 7th, Adu Robinson 9th, 9th Reza Sarurathan after his penalty, so that lost him 3 places, I think, the 5 seconds there, with Felix Livesey completing the top 10. 14 of them running at the flag, we hope. Harry Moss comes through. Bria Anglis did get out for that one. I never got to the bottom, actually, why Bria wasn't out in race 2, but the 84 car gets to the checkered flag this time, and so too does Holly Mile in 14th. Well, what can we say that we haven't already about Freddie Slater? He's going to be almost impossible to beat at this rate in the championship, but we do now head to Silverstone, where he only won 1 of the 3 races last time out. Now, granted, they'll be racing across 2 different layouts, the GP and the national circuit. The slipstreaming kind of racing we tend to see at Silverstone could throw up some mixed results, but Freddie will be glad, I think, to go to what is the closest to a bogey circuit that he's got, really, with a bit of a championship advantage. Slater then the winner in an R Racing 1-2, Mikey Porter 2nd, Hugo Schwarzer 3rd, Charlie Hart 4th, and Luca Hopkinson completing the top 5. 3 R Racing cars against 2 Elite Motorsport machines in the top 5, meaning that R Racing extend their championship lead. Henry Jocelyn was 6th ahead of Tom Sprague, Adu Robinson and Reza Sarurathan were next. Sarurathan having suffered from a penalty, and Felix Livesey in 10th. Then it was Leo Robinson, Harry Moss, Bria Anglis and Holly Mile, whilst we lost Alicia Palmowski and Chase Fernandez in the gravel at the old hairpin. Mackenzie Douglas to the pit lane as well, and Freddie Allen also retired to the pits early on with mechanical dramas. So Ginetta Junior action done for the day. We've got 2 more Ginetta races coming for you later on in the afternoon, though, so don't go anywhere. More great one-make action coming your way. Highlights then of the 9th round of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship, and well, for the 3rd race in a row really, Freddie Slater was challenged on the outside line into turn 1, but for the 3rd time in a row he was able to stay in front. This time it was his teammate Luca Hopkinson who went high wide and not so handsome through the first turn, running wide over the curb and dropping to 10th by the end of the opening lap. At the Melbourne hairpin on lap 1, there were the usual shenanigans further back as the 37 car, which had been hastily repaired for Leo Robinson between races 2 and 3, sustained more damage. So too did Harry Moss's car, but amazingly, they all carried on from that without too much damage. The battle for second attracted much of the attention in the mid part of the race. Charlie Hart fending off Mikey Porter. They were working together in the early stages to try to chase after the leader. Sadly, that was in vain. And anyway, Charlie Hart ended up with a 5-second penalty that would knock him off the podium. Alicia Palmowski was battling away with her teammate Hugo Schwarzer and Chase Fernandez in the number 90 car. That battle, though, got a bit too hot down at the old hairpin. The two of them made contact and Palmowski and Fernandez were off the track and in the gravel. Hugo Schwarzer then battling away with the 48 of Luca Hopkinson. That was a fight that was essentially for 5th place, although Schwarzer would end up on the podium after the Charlie Hart time penalty was added. It was a 2nd win of the weekend, a 7th of the season though for Freddie Slater, who extends his championship lead further as the Ginetta Junior Championship heads back now to Silverstone.